This isn't a how to play this specific song on guitar or how to play that specific song on an acoustic guitar video. This is a beginner guitar tutorial about how to learn a song on the guitar, and in particular how to make it easier to learn, especially if you're a mature beginner, maybe feeling a bit overwhelmed by what you see on either the printed music page or on a website like Ultimate Guitar tabs. And right from the start, I'm going to assume that you already have a song in mind that you absolutely love and are determined to play. It's that passion, isn't it? It's that passion for the music, which is exactly why most of us pick up the guitar in the first place. But if you still don't have a song picked out yet, then don't worry. This method still works, and I've got a great list. I've got a list of great beginner-friendly guitar songs linked down below in the description to help you get started. I want to share how I learned songs when I was first starting out. Back then, back in the 1980s, we didn't have the internet, obviously. There was no YouTube tutorials. There was no Ultimate Guitar tabs. It was all about books, sheet music, and figuring things out for yourself, step by step. And the biggest breakthrough for me was when I realized that if you strip down the song to its bare bones, to its absolute nakedness, all you have left is a simple chord progression. That's it. Now, songs might seem complicated with all the fancy bits, but most songs follow a simple structure. There's an intro, there's a verse, there's a chorus, maybe a middle section, that sort of thing. And once you understand that, it becomes incredibly simple to learn. So stick around, because by the end of this beginner guitar tutorial, you'll have a clear, stress-free path to learning any song you choose. Songs can seem like a jumble of notes, fancy solos and really quick changes, but really think of them like a house. The chords are the foundational walls and rooms. Everything else is just decoration, fancy stuff and bloody knickknacks. Most songs follow a predictable pattern. You have an intro that sets the scene, a verse that tells part of a story, a catchy chorus that always repeats, and maybe a middle eight, or also known as a bridge, to add a bit of variety. And our goal is to identify and learn the chord sequence for each of these sections. And as Lao Tzu once kind of said, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single, simple chord progression. And learning one section of a song at a time, focusing on those core chords, is exactly that step. It builds momentum and belief. So let's grab a song and translate it. We're going to filter out all the noise and just get down to the bare bones, the core chords. So here's a page from an old songbook of mine, and I've had this book since 1986, and there's a link down below in the description if you want to buy it. It's a great Beatles book. So you see the lyrics and the chord names written above them. And sometimes, and this is where I think things get a touch difficult, sometimes a single chord takes up a lot of space on the page, even if it's only for a beat or for a bar or two. But then you might see a number of chords squeezed onto one line, like the C and then the G. And this kind of weird varying layout can be confusing, making you wonder, how long do I play this chord for? And so this is why we translate it, why we take it off the musical page. We ignore the spacing in the book for now and just write down the chord names in the order they appear for each section on our own piece of paper. For example, in this song, Sgt Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, we've got G, A, C, D, which repeats. There's no chord written at the beginning of this particular bar, which means we keep playing the same chord. Then we have A, C, G, C, G, and that looks like part of the verse leading into the quick chorus of Sgt Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. So I'm going to assume, rightly or wrongly, that you already know how to play these 4 chords, G, A, C and D. And we'll deal with how many strums and bars, etc. in a moment after we look at a more modern take on this song. Okay, now let's look at the exact same song from this great online resource. And this one is Ultimate Guitar Tabs. I'm not sponsored by them or anything like that. You see how different this looks? It's just a long list of lyrics with chord names simply placed above them. There are no bar lines, no clear indication of rhythm, and it's incredibly difficult to tell when to change chords if you don't already know the song intimately. And this is where many beginners get stuck. Our method still works. We simply extract those chord names and write them down, creating our own uncluttered, simple roadmap. So I'm getting all technical here with a piece of paper and a pen. And so, as I said, we're just taking down the chords that we see on the page. And, you know, it's G, it's A, it's C, and there's a G. And as I said, in the printed page, you couldn't see that there was another G. So it just follows on. Okay, it's kind of repeating like that. But you see in the Ultimate Guitar website, it says something like G7, A7, C7, and G. Now, if you know those chords, great. But if you don't, well, don't panic. Okay, we'll deal with that in a moment. You see, whether it's from an old songbook or a modern online tab, the method is the same. Just pulling out the essential building blocks, the chords and their sequence, creating what I think is a much better uncluttered guide that works. And also this kind of physical, using pen and paper, this physical approach has huge practical benefits. Because if a song, if you've got the chord book, if a song goes over 2 pages, then you're going to have to turn over at some point. That can be frustrating. And as for online tabs, you know, it completely eliminates the frustration of constantly scrolling down the web page or fiddling with an auto scroll that's never quite at the right speed for you. Hey, listen, tell me, what song are you learning at the moment and how's it going? Let me know down below in the comments. So as you're translating songs, you might come across chord names that look a bit intimidating. So as I said, you know, on the website, you've got G7, G7, you got A7, right? Things like that. And that can be quite stressful. And, you know, these extra numbers and letters mean there's a little bit of flavor added to the basic chord. But here's a brilliant trick that, you know, for you as a beginner, that you can use most of the time. Especially when you're just starting out, you can simply just play the basic version of the chord. So where it says G7, get rid of the 7. Where it says A7, get rid of the 7. Now you might see something like C, M, A, J, 7, right? Again, get rid of that. And you might also see, for example, A minor 9, right? So here we have a minor chord. So we can scrap that number and just play A minor. You know, the song will still sound like the song, and crucially, and more importantly, you'll keep playing without getting stuck. So don't worry about those extra numbers for now. As you get better and better, you can always come back and add those flavors in a little later. But for now, let's focus on the core simple chords. And as Tony Robbins said, complexity is the enemy of execution. So we're choosing simplicity here to help you get started playing and get you started playing faster. If you're finding this helpful, please give this video a like. It really helps the channel. And if you want more simple beginner-friendly guitar lessons, consider subscribing and tapping the bell icon so you don't miss out. Okay, so now that you've got your simplified list of chords, it's time to add like a secret ingredient that makes them playable. So we're going to add a little bit of rhythm, but more importantly, structure. And this is where you're going to create your own map of the song, which is often clearer than a traditional songbook or online tab. But first, one thing we do have to do is understand the time signature. Now, most songs you'll learn as a beginner are in 4/4 time. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So we've got 4 beats in every measure or bar. And this is sometimes something that is printed. This is something printed music often shows quite clearly, which you can see on the screen now. You can see where it says 4/4. But online tabs sometimes leave you guessing. So to create your map, let's show you what we do. Again, we're getting very, very technical here. So what I do is I draw the bar lines. Okay, so I'm going to draw like that. So that there is 1 bar. And I'm going to draw 4 of those because I generally like 4 bars. Bar 1, bar 2, bar 3, bar 4. I'm going to draw that a few times just to make sure I have enough space, basically. All right, and sometimes, if you're feeling a bit fussy, you can write time signature at the beginning. So I'm just going to use that first line here. So in a guitar chord progression, for example, this is 4/4. So you might see, for example, G. And if this is for the whole bar, you'll see G followed by 3 lines. And this basically means play G 4 times. So play G, 2, 3, 4. C, 2, 3, 4. So we have something like this here. However, if it's half bars, so for example, maybe there are 2 chords in here, like in Sgt Pepper, you'll see G, strum line, followed by A, and another strum line. And then we have C, strum line, G, strum line. And so that's kind of how we will see the chord progression like that there. So this here is kind of immediately giving you, a visual clue. So if we write that out for the song itself, right? So this is looking a bit scrappy here. So we're going to do this. So I said, I might put 4/4 at the beginning, and then we're going to go G, A, C, G. So that's the first part. Now this thing here is actually repeated. So I'm just going to write this down very quickly. So the first part looks like this. And what we can do now is just grab your guitar and just play through it a little bit. Let's see. Okay, so 20 years ago today, Sgt Pepper taught the band to play. Okay, and that seems pretty good. And as you can see, in terms of rhythm, what am I doing? I'm just playing with my thumb and pen, and stay there. Let's put that there. Okay, I'm just playing my thumb, not doing anything flash. Strum, 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 strum. Nothing flash. And I'm just following the chord progression. Now you might be wondering, how do I know how long each chord is meant to last? That's a pretty good question. This is where your ears come in. Now obviously, you've got to listen to the original song. Even tapping your foot along with the song and try to feel the beat. Now, if you're not sure, a good rule of thumb is to assume that each chord gets 4 beats. And then you can kind of adjust it as it starts to sound more natural. And this kind of focused listening is a massive help, if you ask me. And the more you do it, the better you'll get at hearing where the chord changes happen. And it will become second nature over time. And this is the important thing to understand, as it doesn't really happen overnight. You do need to put the work in. So let's finish mapping out this part of Sgt Pepper. And we're using this method here. So we've started here, we've got G for half a bar. So G, 1, A, so G, 2, A is 3 and 4. C, strum, G, strum, G, strum, A, strum, C, strum, D, oh, not D. Sorry, I've done that again. That shouldn't be D. That should be a G, excuse me. Right, so it's G again. Nice, simple way of clearing things up. What we have We're going to do the rest of it because it then goes to A, but it plays A for a whole bar, and then it plays C for a whole bar, and then we go into this kind of little, very short chorusy part here. I'm just going to highlight here, and it goes Sgt Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. All right, and that's kind of like the chorus part. Okay, so G, half a bar, C, half a bar, and then G for a full bar, and then it goes somewhere else. But this here is the bulk of the verse. This is everything stripped away. There's no intro, there's no flashy guitar licks, there's nothing, it's just the chords. And this bit here, you could play through quickly and efficiently. As I said, as I showed you before, just you, your thumb, and that's it. And your guitar, of course. And now all of this here is just the verse and that very short chorus part there. And you see, I think that's pretty clear. Okay, I made a bit of a stuff up there. But each line represents a little phrase, you know, and you know exactly how many beats each chord gets. And you can easily see the rhythm and flow of the song. You could also add strum lines. You could just add down, 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 down if you wanted to. Now, we've only covered the verse of Sgt Pepper here, but this is exactly how you can begin learning any song. Start with just one section, whether it's the intro, maybe it's the verse, or even just the chorus. Master this chord progression right here, okay? And master the rhythm, simple down strumming. And once you're comfortable with that, you can then move on to the next section. You know, piece by piece, building up the whole song. And I think this structured way of writing things out is your key to truly understanding the song's rhythm. You know, it's a personal cheat sheet that makes sense to you. And it tells you not just what to play, but when and how long for. And I think here is the real power of this method. You know, by simplifying the chord progression and mapping out the rhythm this way, you're not just making it easier to play. You're actively helping your brain internalize the song much faster. So this means less time staring at charts and more time actually playing and enjoying the music. You know, this is going to lead you to memorize all of this stuff a lot quicker and build that musical intuition. If you're a total beginner and want more personalized lessons, then check me out on Till. It's a great guitar learning platform. Also, why not check out my 7-day beginner guitar course? Check the description down below for all the links. Hey, check out these song tutorials here, and thank you so much for joining me today. Happy writing out the chords to all the songs, and of course, happy strumming.